I'm Moray Rhoda. I'm a comic book producer, comic book creator in Cape Town. I'm working currently on a comic book called Uncharted Waters, which is part of an anthology comic book series in a comic book called Sector, a bi-monthly black and white comic book. I'm also involved with The Little Five, which is based on our Big Five. So these are quite disparate comics. The Uncharted Waters comic book is pirates in the high seas and adults. And The Little Five is aimed at little kids, probably under the 8 to 12 age group kind of thing. It's very much similar to what the South African scene would be about. There's no specific genre that people focus on. We've got a lot of comic books produced by locals, most of them by people in Cape Town, in actual fact. We've got a comic book called Queasy, which I'm sure that most people would have heard about, as it's got the best distribution of South African comic books, actually in local bookstores. International bookstores are also interested in carrying the book. One of the biggest things that people always ask me about South African comic books is, where is it actually at this moment in time? Or alternately, where has it come from in the past? In the past, South African comic books have been mostly focused on socio-political commentary, but I think there was kind of a watershed that happened in the early 2000s up to about 2010. That's when the focus started shifting away from socio-political commentary and away from a focus on talking about our own country in terms of getting a specific message out there and focusing more on entertainment value for comic books. It's interesting to note, though, that what's happened in the past 8 years, I guess, since then, is I've seen that there is local storytelling happening, and very good local storytelling happening, but it does not focus on an artificial creation of a South African mythology, as it were. In actual fact, I guess Sector is an example of that, as is Little Five. The fact that we are using our own environment and our own backgrounds and our own legends is part of the story. It's not an agenda that we're pushing at all. Same goes for Queasy, which is also just showing what a local youth with superpowers would do, for instance. Other than that, South African comic books are very diverse. We've got people that are influenced by European comic books. We've got people like Louis Tolosana, who brings a sci-fi aesthetic to his comic book Pinnacle City, but it's still rooted in an Africanness, with our hero being South African, along with other people from the African continent playing into an intergalactic league. So we are finding ways of telling our stories that are stories first, that is entertainment first, but we are finally acknowledging that this is where we're from. I think it's a very telling thing, though, that even though comic books are entertainment value and it's pop culture, that the National Library does have an interest, an ongoing interest in having these books in their collections and having it available for the broader public to gain access to what local producers are actually doing.